So I want to take a little quick second here just to showcase exactly how, what a voice crack, how I go about farming my Uber Mavens in Standard, because it's something that I have to do quite frequently, not because I'm missing anything from this actual boss, Uber Maven, but there's a lot of Awakened gems that I specifically want. I do tend to use things like Orb of Conflict sometimes in Mass, which is acquired from Maven. So basically the key to all this is, there's 3 different nodes that come into play for Uber Maven. Height of Hubris increases the modifier in invitations, equally so increase the rarity and quantity, giving you more splinters, but more difficulty. Throw the Gauntlet makes Maven into Uber Maven, and then you have Captivated Interest, which gives you more splinters, more quantity, which I think also just scales up the generic loot, and then all the bosses come out at once, which makes it A, more difficult, but B, in a weird way, quicker. Not just quicker, but also lets you target what specific boss you want. For example, in more difficult fights like the Feared, there's an order of priority where you want to kill things. I'd much rather kill Adziri first, and then the other 4 bosses kind of don't really fucking matter after that. But I digress. Farming specifically for Maven sets, the key to this is how fast you can farm invitations and the rate of access to those. The invitations themselves, I would say, fall into 3 big categories of easy access invitations. You have the Formed, you have the Twisted, and then you have the Elder Slayers. These are your big 3. These are the ones you could farm the most frequently because you acquire the maps themselves the most frequently. These are your Guardian Conqueror maps. Baron, Drox, Elhesmi, and Veritania. That gets you the Elder Slayer. That's for Sarah sets. Enslaver, Eradicator, Constrictor, Purifier. That gets you the Twisted, and those are for doing Elder or well, just Elder, actually. Then Chimera, Hydra, Phoenix, Minotaur is Shaper, which, you know, it also gets you effectively Uber Shaper. And Cirrus can also be used for Uber Cirrus. The only one that sucks is Elder, because Elder doesn't get you Uber Elder. You have to farm Elder to get the 2 different fragments to do Uber Elder. Elder kind of sucks. Now, the 2 things interesting about the Elder and Shaper ones, which are both denoted really just by the inevitable ambush one, is they come out both at the same time. They're 3 phases. In the last phase, they reset, and they have a friend. That's cool, but also it makes it slower. Now, it makes it slower for 2 reasons. 1, because there's 3 phases, and 2, because the 3rd phase of the Keystone resets their life pool. Now, if you're playing a good build, you can blow past it. But there's actually a second reason why this kind of sucks, right? And that is doing the Elder Guardians replace the map boss, removing the map boss's loot, so there's no chance to progress any sort of missions that way. You have no way of getting synthesis map drops. Shaper ones can give you synth map drops, so they're the second best, but the best ones are still Crusaders, because you just walk in, kill the boss, can one-shot them, no phases. Here's an example of how I run them. I don't really give a shit too much about qualitating them. It doesn't make it any better for me when it comes to getting my, make sure they're always witnessed, when it comes to getting my attempts, because all that matters is the actual Elder Slayers crafted invitations. So crafting the maps is kind of meh. It has a better chance of getting things like, you know, I maybe have a better rate of getting synth maps, if that even is affected by map quantity, or maybe more generic loot if you want to clear the map. I just walk to the boss, kind of. Depends how your Atlas is set up. For me, it's really just boss rushing, so I kind of try to want to be in and out of the entire map within a minute if possible. But yeah, I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time here. You can see, though, when I killed the boss, I did get an Elder Slayer invitation. It was kind of nice. And here's Veritania. So this is the speed in which it starts. Time has no meaning here. But yeah, you can see how the rate in which I do it. If you're playing a good build, you pretty much kill Veritania with 1 hit or within mere seconds. You get your crest, which is guaranteed. They also have very good card drops. They dropped a card, Dementiphobia. They dropped a card for synthesis maps. Very good. I really care about their influence stuff. If you care, fantastic. Otherwise, peace out. And then within a minute, I have now run 1 of my 4 pieces. We can do 1 more here. We'll do a Baron. This is on an arid lake. Again, there are going to be 14 through 15 and 16s. Tend to horizon them for whatever map is the best layout, because I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. And you just kind of walk in the map, kill the boss, and fucking walk out. Again, you could have your Atlas set up to do whatever. You could have more intricate setups for running Harvest, running, for me, it's Smuggler's Caches, which I just walk in, kind of just hit the cache, and then just leave the mapping section and just go kill the boss. So it really just depends on how you want to do it. But long story short, you rotate between the 4 bosses, and then, yeah, just make it really easy yourself. Get your map drop if you want one. You can drop a TP on your way out or whatever. The bosses themselves, again, drop really nothing but the fragment and then div cards. But as long as you one-shot them, there we go. There's that. There's the other div cards talking about. There's Justified Ambition, the Synthesis map one. Pretty common. Not much for loot. Again, you no longer get Awakened Gems. You can get orbs, I believe. That's about it. So if you want to get higher orb rate, you can crank the quantity. I don't really care about orbs too much myself. I think I still have a pretty decent pile. But if you care about that, you feel free to crank the quantity if your build can handle it. And yeah, you just rotate amongst the 4. And then I'll show you what the other ones look like. Warlord's the only one that kind of has a phase. He has like this iframe thing that happens. It's not like a real phase, but it just, he goes momentarily invulnerable. But you can actually just kill him through this pretty easily in general. Once the flags go down, he just kind of melts yet again. So he's the one that kind of sucks, I guess. But yeah, the cards are good though. You can just leave Maven Influence on. It actually doesn't make a difference when you're running the Elder Slayers whether Maven Influence is on or not. So if you're just chaining these, looking to bang out some Mavens themselves, I would suggest just leaving Maven on. A key to both the speed of this and killing the bosses and what's going to be in a second killing the Elder Slayers, obviously is having a not shit build. If you have a build that has shit single target, this entire thing is miserable and possibly just not even viable. So it's kind of a prerequisite is having a good single target build. I would say at the very least you're going to want around, let's say 10 million single target. I don't think a whole lot less than that is going to feel comfy, because again, you're not just cranking the damage of for the maps themselves is kind of whatever. It's much more for what's about to come, which is going to be the 4-way fight. That's the big one. So there's our last witness. We have all the Elder Slayers witnessed here. We could fuck off, and I'll show you what we want to roll for. In general, the vibe is if you roll your Elder Slayers, I believe it's above 75. 70 might be enough. We'll leave it at 70, I guess. I will say 70 is going to get you, I believe, always 8, which is not quite a full Maven, but it's pretty close. So this is from the last one I did get 8. I believe it's always an 8. So this is going to be 71, it's going to be times 2. So whatever these metrics are, it's doubled that. Keep that in mind. So if you can't one-shot things, I wouldn't, roll... I try not to roll much defensive stats, and I would also be careful rolling things like Onslaught or Frenzy Charges. Having them have 200% AoE sounds crazy. Kind of is crazy. But yeah, 70% is ample because, again, it's doubled. And then some, so 191 quantity. But don't forget, it's 200% AoE. They're all going to come out at the same time. Prioritize which ones you want to kill. For me, it's Baron is the spooky one, kind of. So I want to kill him first, so I prioritize him because they'll come in at once. The second I see that health bar, boom, he is going to drop momentarily. And for me, it's like Veritani is the next worst one. Take care of her. And then we should just get the other ones, and I think that's... Oh, Drox is the one who goes into his little frame ability, so if you can eat a death, that's fine. Again, the AoE is fucking ginormous right now. Just wait for his abilities to trickle off. And that should be enough to probably kill him. Maybe. Nah, he got the vitality boom from Maven there. And goddamn, the Drox AoE is insanity. Don't forget you have a full grace period here, full minute. If you want to utilize it, feel free to utilize it. And there we go. I can stay dead for this. Should get 8, 9. Okay, so I got 9. I've actually never gotten 9 before. I've always gotten 8, but this is better. I've never gotten a full writ either. It's always been 8, exactly 8. So apparently 9 is possible. Maybe it's just because we're over a certain point, but as long as you roll for that 70-ish% minimum, you should be good to go for, pretty much any amount of, difficulty. It doesn't really scale much higher. You just want to get to 70% quantity. And there you go. That's how we get our Mavens, and that's the gist of it. The same principle follows for the other two. For the Twisted and for the Formed, I tend to get around 7 for that. Not so much 8 or even 9, potentially. And that's it. Yeah, if you do the Feared totally cranked, you can get upwards of 2 full writs to drop. Forgotten and Hidden is also about 8 or 9. And then Twisted Form is a little bit less, but they're much easier to do, obviously. So Elder Slayer is the fast one. That's what I would suggest. This is what I do to farm out my Uber Mavens. Is these three? I bounce between these three. You use whatever resource you have. I obviously have a metric ton of the Shaper ones. Because of that, those might be more favorable. I might just have way more of those invitations as well, which is not the Twisted. Which one is it again? It's right there. It's the formed. I have a bunch of formed. So there's this looks like 12 formed, but in a way it's kind of like saying this is me having 9 or 10 Mavens I could just farm out. And it's not too bad in general. If you're looking to recoup, you may have noticed over here I have, into the fragment section, I have a bunch of these writhing invitations and screaming invitations. Don't forget about this note here. It's very useful. Eldritch bosses have a 20% chance to drop a Conqueror map. If you're ever going to farm out Eldritch bosses, I suggest you save them up because you can then get large amounts of Conqueror maps, and it's very useful. Not to mention doing things like rolling the Sextant for Conqueror maps. So if you're looking to farm out some Mavens, I highly suggest you do it this way because it feels good and it's pretty efficient. So that's it. That was all I wanted to showcase. This is how I farm out my Mavens. Specifically Elder Slayers, it feels like the best one. That's one I've been recommended by my friends as well, because the speed is unquestioned. However, if you have more accessible to do the Twisted or the Formed, just again, don't forget to roll the quantity above 70 to get the max returns. Prioritize giving them more offensive than defensive modifiers. You don't want the enemy to have, 80% more life and 80 all res, because it's a higher chance of you stalling the fight and losing it versus just giving them way more damage. Is kind of like you should be playing a good single target build anyway, so prioritize one-shotting them versus dragging the fight out. But that's it. Good luck farming Mavens out there, Uber Mavens. If you want to do regular Mavens, legally you can, although I would not recommend really ever doing normal Maven when Uber Maven exists, because you're effectively wasting that amount of anything. Oh, I guess that just extends, honestly, to all of these. I don't think there's not much point currently in the way the game is set up to do any of these bosses without the Uber variation active, because you're just losing money if you can't run them. So keep that in mind. Unfortunately, it's a sell it if you can't run it type game at the moment. Give it a try. Some of them are pretty easy. Some of them are much more difficult. Maven, I think, is by far the easiest Uber. It's basically the same thing. And after everything's said and done, you actually get your Maven to run. You could rake in the fuck. After everything's said and done, you could rake in the sweet payoff, which is the loot, the Uber Maven loot. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you get Awakened Gems. Hopefully you get some good uniques, a key even. I see I got a gem, so I care about. I'm looking for a Cascade. The big one for me, Awakened Cascade. Awakened Fork. I don't think I had Awakened Fork. Holy shit, that's actually good. Right? I don't have Awakened Fork? Oh, man. I don't think I had Awakened Fork. Hold on. Let's check my my 5-way farmer. If I don't have Awakened Fork, that's disgusting. Does he have Awakened or regular Fork? He's using regular Fork. Oh, we're fucking now. Alright, well, anyway, that's why you do it. To do the Mavens, to get the Uber Mavens, to get the good loot, to get the Awakened Forks like that. Even the Elevated Sextants are pretty bang-alicious there. You get the, get the Conflicts, get the good Maven loot. Helmet is not the best drop. Maybe a key, maybe even something like an Awakened Empower, which I have somewhere. I'm not sure where. Oh, Awakened Enlighten, you can get that. There we go. I got one of those a couple days ago. But yeah, that's why we do it. We do it for the Uber Mavens.